So I'm looking at the turning ball. I've shoved my little behind the wall camera down into the Keel cable tube, and I can see two things. What you can see right now is the turning ball is corroded. And what you can't see is that when I put the camera down and turn it and look in the other camera, the ball doesn't turn when the cable moves. So I hadn't planned on replacing that this year, but I guess that's going to happen. Hi, this is Jim's Little Boat. I'm Jim. And as I'm filming this little intro, I am deep into the project of replacing this turning ball that lets the cable run freely through the tube and up over the winch to raise the keel. I didn't need to replace it, but when I looked at it with the camera, I thought I did, so it's here. And I know it seems like I waste money, but guys, you have to give me a break. I'm 75. I'm in my last decade of sailing, and Bootstrap, my little Catalina 22, is almost certainly my last boat. So I'm willing to spend money sometimes when I shouldn't if it avoids losing even one day of sailing. Well, doggone it, I didn't really want to do this job with less than 30 days to go to launch, but I need to change out that turning ball we looked at. It's down inside the volcano, which means I've got to remove the tube that contains the cable, which means really I need to do something with the winch. And thanks to Jason at Adventures in Paradise, I'm going to do it the easy way. I'm going to start by removing the drum. I won't mess with the rest of the winch, but the drum's a pretty easy take out. So I'm down here under the boat looking at the cable for the keel, and it looks fine. There's not any torn wires or anything. I still have to look it up there. The fork is great. The swage fitting is good. I could probably leave this. They're 86 bucks. I already ordered one. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and install the new one when it gets here, and I'll just leave this old one in my spare parts box. Just to save ourselves a little time and grief, I've put an arrow on there to show how the cable pays out. A lot of times you'll have to go look at a picture because you can't remember, does it come off on the right side or the left side as you face the drum. Arrow just saves me a few minutes later on when we reassemble this whole thing. And here's a little thing. When you install the cable or when you take it out, put a little heat shrink or some tape around the end, and you'll find those little wires don't come loose and they don't cut your finger and you don't bleed. And you feel good about that. So those little nuts are 3/8, get a socket for that. And notice how you give it one wrap on the inside of the drum so you get a nice fair lead into the fastener that holds the cable to the drum. Saves you much grief later on. I have got the clamps loose, and don't be cheap on the clamps. These are the $8 or $10 ones. They're not perforated like radiator clamps. Solid metal touches the hose everywhere, and the screw is stainless steel. So the top of this volcano is 5 or 6 inches under the water line of the boat. It's pretty damn important that you use 2 good high-quality clamps at this point. Well, as it turned out, the ball wasn't quite as bad as it looked. It will turn with difficulty. It's not spinning easily, and the corrosion is fine. Now, I replaced this ball about 3 years ago, and this cable had basically sawn all the way through to the axle. But the ball is only 18 bucks. It's on its way here. I'm going to replace this along with the Durlin bearing, and I didn't need to do it, but I'm going to be a lot more comfortable knowing that I did it. I've got the ball out, and I didn't really need to change it. You can see the little marks where the cable's been cutting into the ball, but nothing serious. The last ball I changed out, it was cutting all the way through it. It's corroded. It doesn't spin real well, but the truth is I could have probably left it another year or two. But it's out, and one's coming on its way from Sacramento, California, so we're going to change it. Well, thank gosh the steel pipe that goes into the volcano is just fine. There's no corrosion evident. I don't know whether it's made out of bronze or stainless steel, but it's just fine, and it's secure in the cone and in the fiberglass. Sometimes you get a boat where it'll just spin out of there. Luckily, we won't have to mess with that. I'm looking at the tube. It's in great shape. There's no delamination, no cracking, no anything. And even though I love to spend money on the boat, I guess we'll just go ahead and reuse this. Plus, I don't want to wait to get another one. And the clamps are good. No problem there. So we will reuse these clamps. When it's time to reinstall this little guy, I think we'll hold it with a zip tie like this, and then we'll just slide the pin in from the back side through the tube, and that will be a pretty easy installation. I got this idea either from the tech manual or the Catalina 22 owner's Facebook page. I don't really remember which. This is my secret worry about this part of the job. This is the pin that goes into the cast iron keel. It's made out of stainless steel. And I have visions that if I try to take that out of there, something will break. And it seems sound, so I never mess with it. I want to, but I don't. We got the new cable, the new fork on the cable, and we got the clevis pin and the cotter pin. So it's time to go take up the cable. The ball is back in the volcano tube. The cable tie worked just great. I stuck a wire behind the ball, and to the wire I tied a string. Oh, and there's the string. That should be behind the ball. And I tied the cable to the string. And now with a little bit of luck, we should get the cable. There we go. Now I'm going to go down below and double check and make sure the cable is behind the ball. But I think we're in pretty good shape. Now we get a good look, and the cable is aft of the ball, so all is good. After more messing around than I want to tell you about, the keel winch is back in. And you'll notice we went to some trouble to make sure that it wound on there evenly. When you get big bumps, it's because the cable's falling off of itself. So I've raised and lowered it a couple times. I think this is pretty good. Oh, we got the cover back on. Everything works good. It looks pretty good. A lot of people don't have a cover over their keel winch like this, and it's not necessary, but it does dress the boat up just a little bit. Hides the wires and the cable and the tube and all that sort of thing. That wraps up changing the turning ball, which, as it turned out, didn't really need to be changed, and changing the cable, which, as it turns out, didn't really need to be changed. And I bought a new winch, which it turns out I didn't really need a new one because I figured out how to repair the old one. But that's boating. Thanks for watching Jim's Little Boat. I hope to see you out in the water in a week or two.